They had the money, the mansions, the awards, and millions of fans screaming their names. But behind the flashing cameras and sold-out arenas, a much darker story was unfolding. From DMX and Whitney Houston to Rick James and Lamar Odom, these 25 black superstars watched addiction destroy everything they worked for. Some fought back. Some never got the chance. And a few of these shocking downfalls are even more unbelievable than Hollywood itself. Number 1. Rick James. Rick James wasn't just a musician, he was an entire lifestyle. The man blended funk rock and R&B into pure magic. And by the late 1970s, he was one of the hottest stars in America. Hits like You and I turned him into a household name, and his larger-than-life personality made him impossible to ignore. Honestly, Rick James didn't just walk into a room, he arrived like the room had been waiting for him all along. But with massive fame came endless temptations. The wild parties, late nights, and constant pressure to stay on top slowly pulled him deeper into substance abuse. What started as part of the rock star lifestyle eventually became a serious addiction. Rick later admitted that he was spending enormous amounts of money every single week just to maintain his habits. Turns out being a music legend is expensive, but addiction sends an even bigger bill. As the years passed, his health began to decline, bringing diabetes, strokes, and heart problems. Then in August 2004, fans around the world were stunned when Rick James was found dead at his Los Angeles home at the age of 56. Reports showed multiple substances in his system, closing the final chapter on one of music's most unforgettable icons. His story remains a powerful reminder that sometimes the same fast lane that takes people to superstardom can also lead them somewhere far darker if they lose control along the way. Number 2. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston wasn't just a singer, she was a once-in-a-generation phenomenon. With over 220 million records sold worldwide, countless awards, and a voice so powerful that people still destroy karaoke nights trying to imitate her, Whitney seemed absolutely unstoppable. She had fame, fortune, and a legacy that most artists could only dream about. To millions of fans, she was living proof that dreams really do come true. But behind the glamorous image, another battle was quietly taking shape. By the late 1980s and throughout the 1990s, reports of erratic behavior and personal struggles began to surface. The pressure of being one of the biggest stars on the planet, combined with life under constant public scrutiny, slowly took its toll. Unfortunately, addiction doesn't care how many Grammys sit on your shelf, it never stops to ask for an autograph before turning life upside down. The world was left heartbroken in February 2012, when Whitney was found unresponsive in a Beverly Hills hotel room. Investigators later concluded that drowning, heart disease, and recent cocaine use all contributed to her passing at just 48 years old. Her tragic story remains one of entertainment's most painful reminders that behind every legendary voice is a human being fighting battles. The audience may never fully understand, no matter how brightly the spotlight shines. Number 3. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was more than a music legend. He was one of the greatest voices soul and R&B had ever known. His timeless songs inspired millions, and his smooth vocals could probably make even a weather report sound romantic. At the height of his career, Marvin seemed to have everything: fame, success, and a legacy that would last forever. But behind the spotlight, he was fighting a battle that few people truly understood. According to reports, Marvin's struggle with cocaine began in the 1960s and became much more serious by the late 1970s. Combined with anxiety and depression, the addiction slowly took a devastating toll on his life. His paranoia grew so intense that he reportedly wore a bulletproof vest almost everywhere, believing someone was out to get him. Sadly, while millions loved his music, he found it harder and harder to find peace within himself. The story ended in heartbreaking fashion in April 1984, following a family dispute that shocked the world. Marvin Gaye passed away at just 44 years old, leaving behind an extraordinary musical legacy and countless grieving fans. Reports later found traces of cocaine in his system, reminding everyone that even the brightest stars can struggle with invisible demons. His music lives on, but so does the lesson that fame and talent alone can never guarantee happiness or inner peace. Number 4. DMX. DMX wasn't just a rapper, he was pure energy in human form. The man could bark into a microphone, and suddenly, an entire arena sounded like a pack of wolves. With multiple hit albums, countless awards, and millions of fans, Earl Simmons built one of the greatest legacies in hip-hop. But behind the fame, the success, and that unforgettable voice, he was fighting a battle that no amount of money or platinum records could ever fix. According to DMX himself, his struggle began when someone he trusted introduced him to cocaine at a young age without telling him what it really was. That single moment changed everything. As his career skyrocketed, so did the pressure and addiction slowly became an unwanted co-star in his story. He entered rehab several times and fought hard to regain control. But addiction doesn't care if you're a superstar or just a regular person. It never asks for an autograph before ruining your day. Then came the heartbreaking ending that shocked the entire world. In April 2021, DMX suffered a medical emergency linked to years of personal struggles and passed away at just 50 years old. The voice that once dominated hip-hop suddenly fell silent, leaving millions of fans devastated. His life remains a powerful reminder that even the strongest legends can carry invisible battles, and sometimes the loudest man in the room is fighting the quietest war within himself. Number 5. Samuel L. Jackson. Today, Samuel L. Jackson is one of the biggest movie stars on the planet, with a career that has earned billions at the box office. His voice alone is so recognizable that most people could probably identify him faster than their own GPS. But long before becoming a Hollywood icon, Jackson was fighting a personal battle that nearly destroyed everything he had worked for. Back in the late 1970s, as his acting career slowly began taking shape, Samuel struggled with alcohol and substance abuse. Financial stress, depression, and the brutal competition of the entertainment industry pushed him down a dangerous path. What started as a way to cope eventually became a serious problem, affecting both his personal life and professional dreams. Even future movie legends still have bills to pay, and unfortunately, bad decisions don't accept credit cards. The turning point came in 1991 when his wife found him unconscious on the kitchen floor after a night of heavy drinking. That frightening moment forced him to seek help and begin the long journey toward recovery. Samuel eventually overcame his addiction and went on to build one of the most successful careers in Hollywood history. Looking back, he admitted that drugs and alcohol held him back, and that he could have achieved even more without them. His story proves that sometimes the greatest comeback isn't in a movie script, it's the one that happens in real life. Number 6. Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor could walk onto a stage with nothing but a microphone and leave an entire theater gasping for air. He wasn't just telling jokes, he was exposing real-life raw emotions and uncomfortable truths in a way nobody had ever done before. Hollywood loved him, audiences adored him, and awards kept piling up. From the outside, Richard looked like a man who had completely figured out the secret to happiness. Spoiler alert, life had a very different script in mind. As his fame reached incredible heights in the late 1970s, Pryor found himself trapped in a dangerous cycle of alcohol and cocaine abuse. The wild lifestyle that once seemed exciting slowly became a prison of its own. Friends pulled away, business relationships collapsed, and even his marriage couldn't survive the chaos. His wife later admitted that the addiction had become the most important relationship in his life, a terrible roommate that never paid rent and refused to move out. The damage eventually caught up with him. Richard suffered his first heart attack at just 36 years old, followed by years of declining health before passing away in 2005 after another cardiac event. Yet despite the tragedy, his influence on comedy remains untouchable. His story reminds us that the people who bring the most joy to others are sometimes carrying burdens that nobody else can see until it's far too late. Number 7. Lamar Odom. Lamar Odom wasn't just a talented basketball player, he was an NBA champion who helped the Lakers win back-to-back titles alongside Kobe Bryant. With fame, fortune, and a high-profile marriage to Khloe Kardashian, his life looked like the ultimate Hollywood success story. Honestly, the only thing missing was a movie soundtrack playing every time he walked into a room. To fans, Lamar had it all, and his future seemed brighter than ever. But behind the championships and television cameras, he was quietly battling substance abuse. Over time, his addiction began affecting both his personal relationships and his professional career. The pressure of fame and the struggles in his private life pushed him toward a dangerous path. Sadly, addiction doesn't care how many trophies sit in your living room. It plays defense harder than any NBA legend ever could. Everything changed in October 2015 when Lamar suffered a near-fatal overdose at a Nevada brothel. The incident left him in a coma and caused multiple serious health problems, ultimately ending his basketball career and his marriage. Fortunately, Lamar survived and later shared his journey, openly turning his darkest moment into a message of hope. His story proves that even champions sometimes face battles far greater than anything that happens on a basketball court. Number 8. T.I. For years, T.I. built his reputation on being tough, fearless, and always in control. The self-proclaimed King of the South conquered hip-hop, starred in movies, and turned his name into a multi-million-dollar brand. From the outside, he looked like the kind of guy who had a plan for everything. But as life loves to remind us, even kings occasionally discover that real life doesn't come with a rewind button. After serving time on weapons charges in 2010, T.I. faced an entirely different challenge. Following several dental procedures, he was prescribed pain medication, and what began as a normal treatment slowly turned into something much more dangerous. The addiction crept in quietly, proving that sometimes the biggest problems don't kick down the front door. They simply walk in wearing a doctor's prescription and make themselves comfortable. Fortunately, T.I. managed to overcome that difficult chapter and used his experience to help others. Instead of hiding his struggles, he openly discussed recovery and became an advocate for rehabilitation over punishment, especially within his community. His journey shows that true strength isn't about never falling down. It's about getting back up, learning from the mistakes, and refusing to let your darkest moments write the ending of your story. Number 10. Michael K. Williams. Some actors leave their characters on set when the cameras stop rolling. For Michael K. Williams, it wasn't always that simple. His unforgettable role as Omar Little in The Wire made him a television icon almost overnight. Cool, fearless, and impossible to ignore, Omar became one of the greatest characters in TV history. The only problem, playing a man surrounded by darkness every day can sometimes leave shadows that follow you home. As his career continued to rise, Michael openly admitted that he struggled with personal demons and substance abuse. The pressure of fame, emotional wounds, and years in the entertainment industry slowly took their toll. He later shared his efforts to seek treatment and improve his mental health, showing fans a side of him that was far more vulnerable than the fearless characters he portrayed. Turns out, real life doesn't come with scriptwriters or a second take when things go wrong. Then came the heartbreaking news that stunned Hollywood. In September 2021, Michael K. Williams was found dead in his Brooklyn apartment at the age of 54 after an accidental overdose involving multiple substances. His passing left fans devastated and served as a painful reminder that behind every legendary performance is a human being fighting battles that the audience may never fully understand. Number 10. D'Angelo. Most celebrities spend their entire lives chasing the spotlight. D'Angelo did something almost unheard of. He ran away from it. After the massive success of Brown Sugar and Voodoo, he became one of the biggest names in R&B. But while fans celebrated his music, the media became obsessed with something else entirely: his image. Apparently, being talented wasn't enough anymore. People also expected him to look like he lived inside a fitness magazine 24 hours a day. At the height of his fame, D'Angelo shocked everyone by stepping away from the public eye. He once joked that after finishing his tour, he wanted to disappear into the woods, grow a beard, gain weight, and simply be left alone. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. Unfortunately, isolation brought new struggles. Alcohol and substance abuse gradually became ways to cope with pressure, stress, and the overwhelming expectations that came with superstardom, leading to legal troubles and a serious car accident in 2005. But unlike many stories on this list, D'Angelo found his way back. In 2014, he returned with Black Messiah, proving that even after years of darkness, a second act is still possible. His journey reminds us that fame isn't always the dream people imagine, and sometimes the bravest thing a superstar can do is step away, heal, and write a completely new ending to their own story. Number 11. Pimp C. In Southern hip-hop, Pimp C wasn't just a rapper, he was practically royalty. As one half of UGK, he helped create a sound that influenced an entire generation, proving that Texas could stand shoulder to shoulder with New York and Los Angeles. His confidence was larger than life, his opinions were even bigger. And if Pimp C walked into a room, you knew exactly who was in charge within about 3 seconds. But behind the success, the music industry brought pressures that were far less glamorous than platinum records and sold-out shows. According to reports, Pimp C struggled with substance abuse as the demands of fame continued to grow. What started as a way to cope eventually became a dangerous habit that followed him throughout his career. Sadly, life in the fast lane comes with one major problem. Sometimes people forget that even race cars need brakes. Everything came to a heartbreaking end in December 2007, when Pimp C was found unresponsive in a hotel room in West Hollywood at only 33 years old. Authorities later determined that an overdose involving cough syrup combined with severe sleep apnea contributed to his passing. His death shocked the hip-hop community and remains one of the most tragic losses in Southern rap history, reminding fans that talent and success can never fully protect someone from their personal battles. Number 12. Nate Dogg. Here's a crazy fact. There was a time when you could turn on the radio, hear a rap song, and almost guarantee Nate Dogg would show up somewhere on the chorus. The man earned the nickname King of Hooks for a reason. His deep, smooth voice transformed ordinary tracks into classics and helped define an entire era of West Coast hip-hop. Honestly, if rap songs had secret weapons, Nate Dogg was definitely one of them. But while his music brought millions of people good times, his personal life told a much different story. Growing up around alcohol and drugs, those habits gradually became part of his everyday lifestyle. The constant partying and substance abuse eventually began taking a serious toll on both his health and relationships. Fame may have opened a lot of doors for him, but unfortunately, some of those doors led to places nobody wants to go. In 2007, Nate suffered his first major stroke and managed to recover after intensive treatment. Sadly, he continued struggling with his addictions and suffered another stroke the following year. In March 2011, the legendary artist passed away at just 41 years old due to complications from multiple strokes and heart failure. His voice still lives on through countless hip-hop classics, serving as a reminder that even the people who help create our favorite memories are sometimes fighting battles of their own behind the scenes. Number 13, Snoop Dogg. Let's be honest, if there were a Mount Rushmore for celebrity marijuana culture, Snoop Dogg would probably have his own mountain. For more than 3 decades, the West Coast icon has built an image so closely tied to cannabis that some fans might actually be surprised to see him holding a glass of water instead. But beyond the jokes and legendary status, Snoop created one of the most recognizable personas in entertainment history. Unlike many names on this list, Snoop has never publicly described himself as struggling with addiction in the traditional sense. Instead, marijuana became part of his music, his business ventures, and his laid-back California identity. From hit records to launching his own cannabis brand, he transformed something controversial into a multi-million-dollar empire. That's a level of commitment most people don't even have with their gym memberships. Still, his story has sparked endless debates about celebrity influence and substance use in popular culture. While critics question the message, fans often see it as simply another piece of the Snoop Dogg legend. Love him or disagree with him, one thing is certain: few artists have ever managed to turn an entire lifestyle into a global brand quite the way Snoop did, proving that sometimes the most unforgettable stars are the ones who refuse to follow anyone else's script. Which star did you love the most? Or whose story broke your heart the most? Drop their name in the comments. Number 14, Lil Kim. Before social media influencers existed, Lil Kim was already breaking the internet without even having Wi-Fi. Bold, fearless, and impossible to ignore, she helped redefine what women could achieve in hip-hop. Her style was outrageous, her confidence was legendary, and her influence reached far beyond music. But behind the diamonds, designer outfits, and superstar image was a young girl who had learned far too early that survival sometimes comes with a heavy price. According to the story, Lil Kim left home at just 14 and found herself surrounded by drug dealers and dangerous environments. Over time, substances became a way to cope with insecurity and emotional pain rather than fame and success. The loss of the notorious B.I.G. only made those struggles even worse, adding more pressure to a life that was already spinning out of control. Unfortunately, life doesn't hand out instruction manuals, especially when you're trying to become a rap icon before most teenagers even learn how to pay a phone bill. Her battles eventually spilled into legal troubles, leading to prison time in 2005 and creating even more obstacles for her career. Although she later attempted to rebuild her legacy, the scars from those difficult years remained. Lil Kim's story is a powerful reminder that behind every larger-than-life persona is a real person, and sometimes the strongest-looking people are carrying burdens that nobody else can see. Number 15, Lauryn Hill. Most artists spend their entire careers begging for attention. Lauryn Hill had the exact opposite problem. She had so much success that the entire world refused to leave her alone. After selling millions of records and becoming one of the most influential female rappers of all time, she seemed destined to rule the music industry forever. But sometimes the loudest applause can become the hardest noise to escape. As expectations continued to grow, the pressure of maintaining her public image and meeting fans' demands reportedly took a serious toll on her mental and emotional well-being. In 2000, Lauryn suddenly disappeared from the spotlight, cutting ties with management, avoiding interviews, and withdrawing from much of public life. The woman who once dominated radio stations no longer wanted to hear music at all. That's probably the only retirement plan in history that included turning off both the television and the soundtrack to your own success. During those difficult years, reports described struggles with substance dependency and increasingly erratic behavior. Yet despite everything, Lauryn Hill remains one of the most respected and influential artists of her generation. Her story reminds us that fame can open every door in the world, but it can never guarantee peace of mind. Sometimes the greatest challenge isn't reaching the top. It's surviving everything that comes after you get there. Number 16. Eddie Griffin. Eddie Griffin built a career out of making people laugh at life's craziness. Whether on stage or on the big screen, his quick wit and fearless personality made him one of America's most recognizable comedians. The guy could turn everyday problems into comedy gold in minutes. But as it turns out, some problems don't care how funny you are. They refuse to become part of the joke. Behind the late-night shows, movie sets, and endless performances, Eddie found himself caught in a dangerous cycle of substance abuse. The demanding lifestyle of the entertainment industry, mixed with constant pressure and exhaustion, slowly pushed him toward addiction. Ironically, while millions of people looked to him for laughter, he was privately dealing with struggles that no audience ever saw. Apparently, life forgot to hand him the script for this particular chapter. Fortunately, Eddie managed to turn things around before it was too late. He overcame his addiction and later used his experiences to inspire others, openly speaking about the dangers of drugs and alcohol. Today, he focuses on spreading messages of hope, truth, and resilience. His journey proves that sometimes the greatest comeback isn't getting a standing ovation. It's finding the strength to stand back up after life knocks you down. Number 17, Nate Robinson. At just 5'9", Nate Robinson spent his entire career proving that heart matters more than height. He shocked the basketball world, won 3 slam dunk contests, and played like someone had secretly turned gravity off for a few minutes. Every time he stepped onto the court, fans expected fireworks. Nate wasn't supposed to dominate the giants of the NBA, but somehow he kept doing exactly that. Yet the toughest opponent in his life wasn't wearing a jersey. According to his own story, alcohol gradually became a serious problem, affecting both his health and family life. What began as a normal habit slowly evolved into something far more dangerous. Unfortunately, there are some battles where speed, athleticism, and a 40-inch vertical jump simply aren't enough to guarantee victory. Life, unlike basketball, doesn't always give you 4 quarters to make a comeback. In 2022, Nate revealed that years of alcohol abuse had contributed to severe kidney disease, and by 2024, he needed a kidney transplant to continue living a healthy life. Instead of hiding from the truth, he chose to speak openly about his struggles and his determination to keep fighting. Today, his biggest dream isn't winning another trophy. It's living long enough to become a grandfather, tell stories about his NBA days, and inspire the next generation. Sometimes the greatest victories happened far away from the spotlight. Number 18, Don Cornelius. For more than 2 decades, if you wanted to see the heartbeat of black music in America, there was only one destination: Soul Train. And standing right in the center of it all was Don Cornelius, the cool, smooth-talking host who made every introduction sound like poetry. The man was so effortlessly stylish that even his signature farewell felt more iconic than most people's entire careers. Seriously, Don didn't just host a TV show, he created a cultural movement. But while millions of viewers saw confidence and success, Don was quietly battling serious personal struggles behind the scenes. According to the story, years of alcohol and substance abuse took a heavy toll on both his health and emotional well-being. Things became even more difficult after a major brain surgery in 1982 to correct a congenital blood vessel problem. The long recovery brought seizures and ongoing health complications, eventually forcing him to step away from the spotlight that he had once completely owned. Then came the heartbreaking ending that shocked fans across the world. In February 2012, Don Cornelius passed away at the age of 75, leaving behind one of the greatest legacies in television history. Yet despite the pain and struggles he endured, millions still remember the words that closed every episode of Soul Train: "We wish you love, peace, and soul." In the end, those simple words became a lasting symbol of the joy he gave to an entire generation.